I think from a Twitter standpoint, one, obviously, our collective work has never been more important and our service has never been in higher demand, right? I think that's fair to say. I think what we've seen is right at the tails of pandemic sort of arriving in the country, more so in India and locally, you've seen people sort of come sort of in millions to sort of see what's the most credible and relevant information available, right? And, just to summarize everything, I think the function of trust, which you say isn't something which just you earn, right? I think is the ability of communication, policy, etc. in almost in the period where we've sort of really meant to sort of not trust a lot of things around us. I think brands that garner that trust, communication that evokes that sense of trust will probably go a long way. And I think that's what I see happening.
Welcome you to Mashable Outreach. It's an initiative where we're trying to connect businesses, talk about a post-pandemic, sort of a post-COVID sort of a world and how brand communications will change. So right off the start, Rishab, you've worked with a bunch of brands, you've launched a bunch of campaigns, there's been important days. How do you think communication will become more important? And that's something I believe you can differ. How will it change in the post-COVID scenario with the brands and especially the platforms that we use for dissemination?
Yeah, I think for me, maybe I'll just zoom out a bit. I think COVID-19, the pandemic, I think this has been quite a global problem. And it's rarely that, you have the entire world that connects on one problem. And you're sort of observing several economies and businesses go through transitions that they've never seen before, right? Now, if I were to sort of speculate a bit, which is to your question about what would communication look like post COVID-19, I think it would look more meaningful. I think it has always been meaningful, but you've always seen that as like a side culture. Like the idea has been always about launches and products and services. I think more and more brands and some of the best marketing teams that we work with across agency, media, and brands, right? They've been thinking about employees first, customers first, and then users. I think more communication is actually sort of really moving very speedily across, making a meaningful difference to the society, to the communities they serve. I think that will carry on. I think the ability to sort of lean in, we've always said, listen to the audience, right? See what they are speaking about. I think that will amplify even more. It's about, is the message that is about to go live today, is that the right message? Has something changed? Because like I said, this is so dynamic. Everyday situation involves, and what you thought was right yesterday as a brand message may not be right today, right? So that will also happen. And, just to summarize everything, I think the function of trust, which you say isn't something which just you earn, right? I think is the ability of communication, policy, etc. in almost in the period where we've sort of really meant to sort of not trust a lot of things around us. I think brands that garner that trust, communication that evokes that sense of trust will probably go a long way. And I think that's what I see happening.
Correct. That's fair. I mean, do you think sitting behind the desks at Twitter, have you seen a user trend shift pre-pandemic and now in an unlock phase? And even during the pandemic, still ongoing, but we're unlocking in India. So what has been the trend shift that you must have seen? And these can be larger level stuff as well.
Yeah, so they've been I think both at macro and micro level. I think from a Twitter standpoint, one, obviously, our collective work has never been more important and our service has never been in higher demand, right? I think that's fair to say. I think what we've seen is right at the tails of pandemic sort of arriving in the country, more so in India and locally, you've seen people sort of come sort of in millions to sort of see what's the most credible and relevant information available, right? So that's been key. At the same time, while there's been so much of sort of news around the policies, the lockdown or the partial lockdowns, the ability for people to find information beyond COVID, right? What's in the field of entertainment, probably what's happening beyond technology, finding things to sort of connect socially, right? So what you've seen is two picture, right? There's been bigger conversations around what I could do in a world that is sort of physically distant. And then you have sort of conversations that emerge, which are into subculture pods. You have seen fitness come up. People are sort of finding those happy hours. You've seen baking, parenting, and all this, what I call as sort of micro sort of themes emerge as great conversational topics, and that we continue to see. So I think if I were to sort of say that pre-pandemic and during pandemic, I think we've seen sort of conversations just grow. You have sort of people sort of flock to Twitter to find what's happening in their city, in the country that they are in right now. and I think that's the trend that will sort of continue to sort of grow. And if I were to sort of narrow it down to even the marketing and the brand side of the business, right, which I represent, I think it's also for brands, right? They've always thought digital, not all of them, but let's say the traditional verticals have thought digital to be probably one of the side transformation verticals that they could sort of just operate with. I think right now it has just been at the core of it. Every model had to sort of imagine digital at the center of it, and that has just shifted the game itself, right? So you need to come up with how you can really contribute to someone's lives in this current reality.
Correct. I mean, digital first campaigns have been on the rise, but you're right about the traditional brands. They still think very differently. Which sort of brings me to the next question: is, do you think, as Twitter as a business, and I'm going to get to Twitter next very quickly, but Twitter as a business, how is it taking steps to help the small businesses in a country like ours?
Yeah, so I think more importantly, I think Twitter is, for us, when we say we start, like, our superpower is the audience, right? Is the audience that is completely differentiated from what you see across what I call is the ecosystem of social news or lifestyle platforms, right? So for us, I think the first starting point is every business, right, irrespective of the category, vertical, or size they operate in, needs to find that audience that leans into its product and services. From Twitter's standpoint, what we do is, I think our goal is to partner them across their campaign and planning journey, right? In terms of finding the right audience fit, finding the right conversation they need to connect with. So these are what I call as foundational pillars for our partnerships. Very early on, even when COVID-19 sort of arrived, right? And from the lens of Twitter Next, we had published a thought leadership piece, which was around what to do and how do you sort of see your campaigns on Twitter, considering the environment around us, right? These are some of our key focus, irrespective of whether we partner with our large client solutions, small and medium businesses, and even just right now, what we are doing is, I think if you got a chance to catch a glimpse of that, we launched a property called Conversational Starters with a global business marketing team. And the focus primarily there is to sort of host bi-weekly or weekly shows wherein businesses and people can come closer to industry experts, see how they are using the platform, understand how things can happen in the new era of sort of communication and marketing.
So Twitter Next is fairly young also, as I see it. And take me through the idea of Twitter Next, because it's fairly, the audiences are unaware. I'm sure businesses have been taken through by the sales and marketing teams across. But what was the core thought behind it? And then if you can tell me, and be show-offy as much as you want to, about one or two successful campaigns.
I'll try and keep it as modest. But I think just to take a step back, Twitter Next is obviously a new name that was coined last year. However, the team, which was previously called Global Brand Strategy, has been in existence for more than 6 years. So it's a function that has always existed. What we are essentially there is as a creative lab wherein we try and represent some of our most global, local and regional marketing partnerships. And our focus is to completely collaborate with agencies, media partners and marketers directly to find ideas worth talking about on the platform, right? So from a team of global strategists that probably are there in over 15 offices across Twitter, you have today's strategists, planners, technologists, and producers. So collectively, all of them form a team called Twitter Next, with a lot of partners, whether you see it from the OTT space or the music space. Let me start with Spotify because it was very recent. World Music Day that just sort of went by. Spotify India and their agency partners had a great idea, which was they wanted to sort of bring people closer to music, right? And the language of music. Now, Spotify India is all about playlists, right? Largest collection of playlists. And the idea that the agency had was, can they probably find a new language of music, which is about, today we all communicate in emojis, right? Or probably GIFs. Emoji is the new text almost. So for every emoji, could there be a song? And that's where we actually entered the discussion, probably brought them closer to how the platform behaves, co-partner in conceptualizing a campaign that will be called #PlayThis. And whenever someone uses #PlayThis with probably over 3,000 emojis that today exist in the world, right? you will actually receive a playlist that is very apt to that emoji that you use. So that's one example of how they actually owned World Music Day. They were actually sort of trending worldwide at number 5. So you can just imagine the scale of participation, and we build technology systems to support it. So this doesn't stop at creativity. You sort of go and create systems that can support and make that happen through technology and our custom solutions.
So this is likely a follow-up to an earlier question that I had. Have you seen a shift in the way brands are using Twitter?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think from a segue of what I said earlier, I think the key trend or the key shift I have seen, and I'm sure the larger team has seen the same, is about they're very sensitive to the conversation that is happening right now, right? Whether it's on Twitter, whether it's in beyond Twitter, etc. I think there is this immense focus into understanding the sentiment in the platform, understanding what their customers are saying, and then probably pivoting and finding the right message, right? So the more and more messages right now, if I were to sort of verticalize, are around how can me as a brand contribute to physical safety of my customers, for example, right? If I'm in retail and the real estate side of the business, or how can I as a brand contribute to the emotional security or the financial security, right? These 3 things matter to us the most. And majority of the brands, or probably the people that are leading those brands, are trying to launch services, and not just marketing, because this isn't just a marketing opportunity. I think it's about they're all trying to launch initiatives, as I would rightly call them, to offer those sense of normality, right? Security, these things. So I think that's what I'm observing as a key trend or as a key brand behavior that's shifting.
Moving on, have you seen an upsurge? And I'm sure there has been. And if you could give us numbers or percentages in the kind of surge there has been in the audience or involvement per se with people during the pandemic.
Yeah, so I think for me, where I started from, I said our collective work has been more crucial in these times, and we've seen our service has been in highest demand. And if you just look at, without getting into numbers, if you just look at broad trends, year on year, we've seen the volume of tweets have increased, right? Year on year, we've seen video minutes being consumed on Twitter India has increased. And if you just compare it from the last quarter gone by, when it comes down to our average monetizable daily active users, we reported our highest quarter year-on-year growth, which went by in Q1. So broadly, if you see from that trend, I think we have people coming in more and more to sort of find what's happening, to connect with conversations, and you largely will attribute to that 3 things, right? It's about the seasonal trend that we always see, the product enhancements that are happening, and the global conversation related to COVID-19, which almost every one of us needs right now, is probably coming all together to sort of increase demand, usage, and volume of Twitter in India.
Do you also see that there's been a shift, and we've spoken about this, but there's the lifestyle shift. It was all about information and quick updates and news and events, but now you see sort of lifestyle updates coming in. Have you done something around it, or is there an organic shift that has come about where people are discussing lifestyle stuff and just leaving out some positive vibes to stories out there on Twitter?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it all starts from observing the behavior and the conversation trends that the audience are starting. And like you rightly said, right? I mean, Twitter has seen such a diverse set of growth in terms of audiences, in terms of conversation and topics. You've seen conversations emerge from the so-called usual suspects of entertainment, sports, politics, and technology, right? That will always be there. It has sort of accelerated even in these times. What you've also seen is a parallel layer, which is around what you call as cultural themes. There are conversations around fandom. There are conversations around, like I said, baking, or even to go and get into these fun conversations around pets and cats. There are many such conversations, themes that are emerging. And as astute observers of this trend, what we've also done is introduce topics. So, for example, let's say you're a great sports fan, right? Or maybe let's say I'm an Arsenal fan, which is a safe thing to say these days. And I might want to just see conversation around Arsenal for that matter. So there are these subtopics today that users can actually sort of lean into, subscribe to, and you will see conversations relevant to that. And I think that's just a reflection of trends we are seeing. And monthly, we are getting into more nuanced topics and seeing what conversations emerges. So like I said, I think you have mainstream conversations that are continue to be amplified. but you have far more niche conversations that are actually rising up, and more so in the era that we are living on, because I think we all of us are finding habits, right? Parallel habits to probably lean towards, understand what we could do in a routine that is very indoors and etc. But yet we have this virtual social space that we can all connect to and feel very hopeful about.
Which brings me kind of to the next question, because that was a very user-centric question. Now there's a brand-centric question, which is a lot of businesses have sort of shape-shifted and tried to accommodate the demands and kind of service them accordingly. What are the things that Twitter must have done or has done during this time to kind of accommodate the various business needs that have sprung up, or you guys were talking and discussing and you've innovated maybe?
I think in terms of, let me start from the brands and businesses. When you are suddenly transformed into a world that is logged, right, and it's indoors, all your marketing sort of shifts, right? And there are these famous tweets about that probably everyone has to rethink their marketing calendar and you have to reset. Now when that is happening for us, from a service standpoint and a team that collaborates daily with agencies and marketing teams, it was very, very important for us to understand what are the business challenges, right? For example, let's talk about events. Now, India as a country has such a strong events industry, right? Every day you probably have a launch, you have a phone launch, you have a lifestyle brand launching, you have car launches, etc. So one of the things and clear need states were about how do you launch virtually, right? How do you give people the same experience or the brands the same set of objectives and results so that they can continue to launch and as well as gather fans and customers under that virtual roof. So what we are doing is is focusing on ensuring those solutions are market facing, are clients facing. We are having active conversations across our ecosystem to bring events online. We've been at the front runners of that. Even last week, you had Hyundai go live on platform, and within just a day, they had clocked over 1 million views on some of the really anticipated car models they have launched. Or you saw Google for India, which is from a business to business landscape. They had their flagship conference that happened digitally for the first time. And Twitter obviously was one of the platform of their choice where they were as much as streaming the same content across, even doing the same across their owned and operated content, right? And you can just go on, even replicate the same things across the OEM side of the business or the media and entertainment side of the industry. So I think when I see from that lens, what we are doing is we are closely partnering all the brands, understanding their challenges, and we don't have to innovate our solutions per se daily. What we are doing is we are sort of ensuring we are educating the partners and sort of bringing Twitter right upstream in the partnership so that they know exactly all of the KPIs sort of exist for them to sort of have their marketing plan as they would have want to imagine if things weren't in lockdown.
A lot of predictions about how it's going to be a Nike swoosh or how the markets are going to change. What are your predictions for how the market is going to cope as we open up and as we go back to being to business as usual? I don't know what to call it anymore.
Yeah, I think it will be very hard for me to predict, and I think that's one of the things I also say in most of my conversation externally. I think one of the easier things to do is to predict right now, right? But that may not be true. But if we were to sort of just go by the recent trends and, considering we are in a partial lockdown now and not a complete lockdown, what you are seeing is, you are seeing people embrace this sort of new reality, right? And I wouldn't want to call it probably a new normal, but at least a new temporary reality. So from an industry and market standpoint, I think there will be more and more focus on creating experiences, whether there are outdoors and indoors, that are extremely safe, that keep in mind the physical and social distancing measures, right? I think there will be a lot of focus on how you can sort of bring back or sort of reshape economy. There will be certain industries and verticals that have not thought of digital at the core of their business model, will have to do so now. And as you would have seen, right, for all the opportunities that we have forecasted earlier, that India will go here in the next 5 years or 10 years in the m-commerce or in the digital transformation, I think all of that has happened within 3 months, and that will continue to be. I think what I would want to summarize is 2 points. And like I spoke through the length of the interview, I think basis the conversations we are seeing, basis the trends we are seeing, both pre-COVID-19 or during COVID-19. Our focus is to ensure to give users multiple ways to have a conversation, right? And that's what we lean into. And for the business of brands and marketers, which is the vertical I represent, just to be there and partner with them across their business challenges, campaign objectives, and to educate and to consult and to co-curate ideas that are worth talking about, because I think that is exactly what will matter. If you're able to give the Indian population's sort of ideas that they can sort of meaningfully sort of interact with, make a difference, I think would be probably a cause that all of us will rally on around.
Interesting. All right, I think it's been very insightful. I'm going to go back and listen to a bunch of things and send specific parts to some marketers so that they start listening to my social media pitching.
Thank you, Rishab, for being here. This is I, Storyteller India, for Mashable Outreach, signing off.
Thank you. Bye.